We are now going to start working with a fully fledged character. So what we've been dealing with so far is we've been dealing with maybe like just a few simple controls. We've been dealing with like 3 or 4, 5, 6 controls. Now we're jumping up quite a bit to, like, say, I would say like hundreds of controls. So there is a huge gap between what we've been doing and what we're going to do with. So this is going to be just all about covering that kind of difference in controls. So we're only going to be using a few of them. So I just opened up Blender. You should see a file. We are going to be using the character Rain. So this character is available through the Blender site and also through the school, I would imagine. I am just going to go ahead. I'm just going to drag and drop this and say open. And then I'm also going to say allow execution. This, by saying allow execution, this has a custom script that allows it to work on certain things. And you'll notice that this is that custom thing right here. So right away, you're going to see a nice looking character right here. And you're going to see a lot of stuff. You should see this as well. If you don't, that means it's just over here, something like this. Just grab this and drag this over here. You'll notice right at the beginning, let's take this from the beginning, that there's some controls down here. These are the same controls that we've had on our characters. There's basically 2 controls, and they both do the same thing. For now, we don't ever have to really deal with these controls. Just remember that we typically don't animate these controls. We just have them there. Cool. If we go into here, we see a few controls, and we want to simplify some of this stuff. So if we look over here and we go into a bone collection right here, so you can see that I just opened that up, you're going to see that main controls. If I turn that off, that's going to turn off most of the main controls like that. We actually want our main controls on. You'll notice that by default the tweak controls are off. That's good. And face controls are on by default. Let's go ahead and turn those off. We're not going to be dealing with the face at all. You'll also notice that there's fingers and hair. So let's go ahead and turn off fingers and hair as well. You could see that there's like clothing stuff. We don't want those either. We want to visually reduce the clutter. This may seem like a dumb thing, but it helps when you're dealing with so much things and you're feeling overwhelmed as an animator with all of these things, to kind of reduce how many things you see on the screen. So we can see that right away we've simplified it quite a bit. This is pretty much where we want our character to be. So for this first assignment, we're only going to be really working on this bottom half. So we're actually going to leave her arms up like this. If we wanted to, though, I want you to notice some things. So by default, if I move her hand right now, I want you to be asking yourselves, is her arm an FK or IK? So this is something that hopefully you know the answer to by now. If I grab her foot right here, that's this bottom control, is it an FK or IK? So you should know this, you should know the answer at this point. Let's go ahead, if I select this hand right here, and then I go over to this right here, this FK IK switch, you're going to notice that there's a spine control right here that says spine 10. That means that it's on IK. If I were to click and drag this over to here, that would mean that this is FK. We want this to be on IK, the spine. Now this left arm right here, let's go ahead and click and drag this to 0, and then click and drag this to 0. Now you'll notice that now the arm is in FK. Cool. So that's how we would swap between FK and IK. So there are swaps. We haven't really dealt with swaps, and in this rig you can swap between the two. Cool. So we're starting to learn a little bit about this character. A good thing to note, guys, is even when you're an established seasoned animator that has worked for a long time, anytime you work on a new character, you should try to give yourself at least an hour to just play around with the character before you start animating, because every character will have a unique set of controls, like a weird way of like getting these controls. You always try really hard. This is something that animators usually overlook and don't do, and then what happens is halfway through their animation they're like, I can't do it, and someone's like, well, did you use this control? And they're like, oh, I didn't know about that. That would have saved me, you know, a whole day. So really try to do that. For example, let's go ahead and grab her foot. And if I move this foot down right now, you are going to notice that her foot stops. Now, that's a normal default control, but if I go ahead and I click this next one, so I'm going to minimize FKIK switch, and I'm going to open this one up right here. You're going to notice that right here, spine is 0, arm stretch is 1, leg stretch is 0. So these are all our stretch controls. I'm going to go ahead and turn them all to 1. Particularly leg stretch. You don't necessarily have to do spine since we're not dealing with it right now. But then if I go ahead and click and I move this leg, you'll notice now that the leg stretches. This is good. We typically, for what we're doing, you want leg stretch on. So for your walk, you need to have your leg stretch on. All of my animations always have it on by default. Cool. There are many other things to deal with right here. Like if you look, this should be familiar to you. This is the pole vector. This is where the knee points. So like right now, if I rotate my foot, you're gonna notice that this rotates with it. That's because poles follow feet is on. If I were to click and drag this off and then rotate this like this, you'll notice that now it doesn't rotate with it. By default, I think we want it on. Cool. And I think that should typically be it. Let's go ahead and dive into this rig a little bit more. So this is how we are going to move our feet. We are going to be dealing with our feet and our hips for this first assignment, for this first vanilla walk, because we're going to be working on the lower half of the body. So this one moves. Great. We've got that. I'm going to click this C control and I'm going to hit rotation, and I'm going to see that, oh, this allows me my foot roll, and it also allows me to pivot off the hill. So perfect. So this, anytime I want to pivot off the hill or do a foot roll, I'm going to use this control. So that's great. Then I'm going to select this control right here, and you'll notice that this is my toe flop. So these are controls that we're familiar with based off of our previous control character. We also have our pole vector that we know about. Let's get into the hip now. So if we select this control right here, you'll notice that she moves around. That's perfect. So this is our main control right here. This is like the one that's going to move our character around the most. And if we look right here, we'll see a blue control. And if we hit rotate, we can go ahead and we can see that this is our hip control. Looks like it moves the hips quite a bit. Like I did it pretty extreme. Cool. And let's go ahead and we can see that we can actually translate this and move the hips independently as well. Cool. So I think that's about all we're going to be doing for this. Let's go ahead and do one other thing. So we are going to, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to make ourselves what's called a selection set. So a selection set is basically a group of controls that you want to set a key on all at the same time. Basically, if I want to select a bunch of controls all at once, I'll give you an example. We are going to be constantly selecting this control, and this control. And we're probably going to be also selecting the other foot as well. We'll also be selecting this one and this one. It would be nice if we could just hit one button and select them all. That's where selection sets come in. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to select the foot, then I'm going to select the toe, I'm going to select this heel, select foot, toe, heel, and then I'm also going to select this hip control and this this main mover right there, the cog. So I've selected all of them right now. If I were to move them, they would all do some really crazy stuff. So I have them all selected. I'm going to open up selection set right here, and I am going to create a new selection set right here. I'm going to call this move 1, and I'm going to hit I'll hit enter to enter that, and then I'll hit assign like that. Cool. So now we have a selection set called move 1. So if I deselect, so right now nothing is selected, and I have move 1 selected and I say select, now that will select all those controls. And that makes it really easy for me to then just go into here and then say S, set a key, and instead of just setting the key on one control, I have now set a key on all of those controls that are in my selection set. Cool. That is the beginnings of our setting up a full-fledged character. Okay, I'll see you next time in the walk cycle.